Perfect. Good evening, Springfield. Welcome to the October 17, 2022 Township of Springfield Planning Board meeting. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the sunshine laws. Notice was published on December 16th in the Star Ledger, which is the official newspaper of the Township of Springfield for 2021 and 2022, and posted in the Annex Building on December 17, 2021. Let's do a pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, perfect. Always good to remember that. Okay, can we have a quick roll call?
Yep. Peter Kaiser?
Present.
Committeeman Richard?
Yeah, you just about hear you, Jen. I don't know what happened. You're fading out.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. You're here. Mr. David Barnett?
Here.
Mr. Andrew Schwartz?
Present.
Mr. Aaron Lawfer? Mr. Brian Brendel?
Here.
Ms. Marissa Ruggiero?
Here.
Mr. Thomas Lopes? Is absent. Mr. Scott Wishna is absent. Vice Chair Kessel?
Here.
And Chairman Jeff Tiger.
Yes, I'm here. Perfect.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. Great. So first, everyone, thank the board for adjusting the calendar. Columbus Day obviously threw a monkey wrench. That's why we're this meeting as opposed to last Monday. So thanks for everyone making the change. I know that a couple of the board members have some tight time constraints. So this we will look to end no further testimony by 7:15. Have the board some comments, and if some applications may need to get carried, it'll get carried to our next meeting. Going forward, we have, just for the board's awareness, we have a meeting next Monday, the 24th, which we had to add in a special meeting because of so many applications. We will have another meeting on November 14th, which will also be virtual, and then we will be back in person on December 5th in Town Hall, and the board secretary will do adequate notice and make sure that everything's correct. I know we wanted to get back a little bit sooner, but since some of these applications were submitted prior, we had to, continue with potentially, offering the remote meeting. So we went that way. So anyone, any questions from anyone? Any concerns? Okay, so seeing none, a couple things on the agenda. The clerk sent us over an ordinance for us to review. At a high level, this ordinance really just cleans up our ordinance around, family daycares at home, and really tightens up the language and puts us more in line with what the state is doing. But Mr. Disco, do you want to give us an overview, so that we understand what changes and what we're voting on?
We had a definition for family daycare. It was one sentence. It referenced the MLUL. This definition expands upon that and, actually gets into some of the state definitions for it. So it cleans it up and it eliminates some confusion. Very straightforward.
And you think this is consistent with the master plan?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
And you think it's consistent with the master plan?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to quickly go around the board, make sure anyone had a chance to. It's the official township clerk memorandum that Linda sent over to Jen, and it's 4 pages. So Mayor, any questions or concerns?
I have no questions or concerns.
Mr. Huber, Committeeman Huber?
No, nothing.
Mr. Schwartz?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Barnett?
No issues.
Mr. Brendel?
No issues.
Mrs. Ruggiero?
I'm good. Thank you.
Vice Chair Kessel?
No concerns. Thanks.
Nope, and I have no concerns. So what I would ask is the board would vote that they reviewed the ordinance and found it consistent with our master plan, and authorize our professional, we'll figure out which one, to send a letter to the governing body with the board's recommendation that it's consistent with the master plan.
I'll make that motion.
Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brendel. Ms. Law, roll call.
Mr. Barnett?
Yes.
Mr. Brendel?
Yes.
Mayor Kaiser?
Yes.
Committeeman Huber? Committeeman Huber? Okay, I'll come
Yes.
back. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
I've never heard so many yeses. Usually everyone's telling me no in my life, but thanks, Rich.
I thought he only gets one vote.
He did.
He's been there for 10 years. He can have like more than one. Go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Yes.
and Chairman Tiger.
Rich voted for me, so I'm good. Thanks. Yes. Okay, perfect. So the board remembers a few months ago, we had Floor Decor come to us. They were proposing a warehouse, a flooring warehouse, anywhere from Macy's all the way to the Chinese restaurant that's in the middle to what was used to be the Goodwill. This board acted favorably and approved that application. There were a lot of conditions on there. One of the conditions, obviously, we were pretty strict with where we wanted the exit and entrance off of 22. Since then, the DOT did a review of that application and the DOT made some changes to it. I'm going to ask Mr. Disco to highlight just a bit. Given the fact that now we've determined that Floor Decor needs some variances, they will be back to us on an amended site plan, probably in November is what we believe. So Mike, do you want to give us an overview? And I know that our counsel is on and he can give us an overview because I know he talked to their attorney.
Yeah, as you set it up, the requirement was they have to get their DOT permit. This is the change of the property dictated that they had to go to DOT. DOT has a standard where a driveway's got to be 24 feet from an adjacent property line. I think it was Mr. Schwartz who had the primary concern, which was valid, that somebody was going to leave this site and try to go straight across Route 22 or actually against traffic to get to the U-turn. So we pushed it as west as we could to guard against that. DOT moved that driveway 24 feet away. As a result, what the applicant did is they kind of accentuated the curve to direct the cars to the westbound lane to guard against the concern. But as a result of that, they had to shift some of the parking spaces and the lot coverage went up. So there's no loss of parking spaces. They just moved some around. And as you recall, we had some banked parking in that application and some of the bank parking just had to be shifted. So there's really nothing there. This could have been a field change per se, but the lot coverage on the site as a result of the change went up about 2%. I'm really not sure why it went up 2%. I can't see it. I shared a plan real quick, 5 minutes with Keenan the other day, and we just don't understand why it went up 2%. But nonetheless, it went up. It was a variant situation. I don't see how we avoid them coming back for amended site plan at this point. I'll defer to Glenn at this point.
Glenn, do you have anything to add? I know you spoke to council.
I did, and we went through every nook and cranny that I could possibly think of to avoid what Michael just described. But at the end of the discussion, I believe that Michael is 100% correct. No matter what, I think it's de minimis, but I think they need the variance relief. And
Okay.
Michael, are you suggesting if they need that this becomes a minor site plan or just an amended final site plan, Bud?
Yes, amended.
I agree. Amended final, but they have to give the notice for the variance.
Okay. I'll open up to the board with questions, but Michael, one of the things is they're adding more impervious coverage. Probably we'll look to see if we can put more trees somewhere on the property to mitigate that. But if they can't, then we'll look at the tree replacement to put more money in like they were doing per the resolution, and let the environmental commission work with our township professionals to figure out, placing some of the trees. What I'd like to actually, before they come back, is they should know how many trees they're taking down. And we can finalize that calculation. So an amount is read into the new resolution that's passed by the board. So that I'd probably look for that.
Yeah, they did identify the number of trees previously, so we do know that number.
Yeah. So I want to put the exact amount, in the resolution at that point in time, but we may, that number could go up, or, if they're putting more impervious coverage, I'd like to see more trees. If not, there are other places we can put them in the town. I'm going to open up to the board, but let's try to see if we can put them for our November 7th, if there's enough time to notice for it. It's a short application that we should be able to get through with them. If not, they'll be December. November 14th. Okay, let me open up to the board with any questions of Mr. Disco or our council. Mayor,
No questions.
Mr. Huber? Nope. Mr. Schwartz?
None, thank you.
Mr. Barnett?
I guess I'll wait for the application, but would another route to go to be allowed to allow them to have fewer parking spots so they can maintain, so they don't have to go up 2%?
Well, we can also bank more parking if we want to. We
Yeah.
can do that at the board. And that's a good idea, Mr. Disco, when you meet with them, bring that as a potential of maybe banking a little more, because the parking they have.
They have a lot of parking.
Park.
There's a lot of parking there, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can balance it out by just saying you can use, we'll allow less parking spots so they can have more green space.
And if we have to do a parking variance for that reason, maybe make that decision, because if there's a greater parking variance, then you guys can work with Glenn on the notice to make sure that's available to us.
I think David's got a great idea, and I think that's the way you probably should consider going, but they still got a notice for the variance. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay,
But they have to come back anyway.
Exactly.
great. It's always good, Mr. Barnett. Mr. Brendel,
Ryan,
No, wait for the app.
Mrs. Ruggiero?
No, I'm good. My question was pertaining to the environmental, which both you, Mr.
Perfect.
Burnett, covered. So, thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kessel?
No question.
Good, and I have no questions. Okay, perfect. We're on to, so let's try to get the schedule for November 14th and make sure we notice properly, and maybe they can incorporate Mr. Barnett's suggestion there, because I think that's great. They have plenty of parking. Next thing,
Not to delay the meeting, Mr. Chairman, but the bank parking, the bank parking spaces are still included in the calculation. So if we shift regular parking to bank parking, although in actuality, it'll be less coverage, the variance relief will be the same. So we won't be able, so you'd actually have to take parking spaces away or some other lot coverage away to get that 2% down. We actually tried that. There was a driveway in the back, but because of fire lane rules, we had to maintain what I thought was a wider than necessary pavement lane. So I'm just bringing that to everybody's attention.
so let's look at, you come up with something. We
We'll
trust
figure
you,
something out.
engineer, you'll come up with something creative for us. Okay, next we have a resolution. Last meeting, we heard the Habad of Springfield. They were moving into the DMV building. Everyone was very excited. We granted them preliminary and final site plan. They had a variance for parking. We granted them that parking variance, given that the lot was the building was within a certain proximity to a municipal lot. They agreed to make sure they dealt with some of the parking issues with paying for parking, notifying their constituents, as well as making sure they comply with the resolution. So everyone's had a chance to read the resolution. Any questions or concerns?
none.
Seeing none, I see Mayor Kaiser wants to make a motion.
So moved, Chairman.
Can I have someone second it? Sharon?
Second it. I'll
Sharon
second
and
it.
Nick fought for it. Let's go. Roll call.
Mayor Kaiser,
Yes.
Councilman Huber, okay, I got you. Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Abstain.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Yes.
and Chairman Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Rich, you could do thumbs up for now on if you want. We'll take that. Okay, we have one application. It is called The Goods One LLC, 9-2022 South, 355 US Route 22 East, Block 3903. This is Lot 4. This is for preliminary and final site plan for conditional use for a cannabis dispensary. This application is for a cannabis dispensary off 22 where JMK is, the car dealership, but in between PM Pediatrics, the laser tag, and bariatric center for everyone to give them kind of their bearings. If we can bring in, I see we brought in counsel. Counsel, thank you for joining us. Just a quick housekeeping rules. Because this was an odd meeting date for us, I wanted to make sure we kept this. So we gave your application, but likely we have like 35 minutes. We're going to carry this. We don't think finish to our November meeting, make a decision. So you want to give a quick overview of what you're for? I think what I'd like to do is, and then we'll probably adjourn at that point in time until next time. I'm not going to open it up to the public other than at the end for all business. We'll save all public comments till we're ready to make a decision.
Good morning, Chairman Lars S. Catello, O'Toole Scrivo, appearing for the applicant, The Goods One LLC. Just as a housekeeping item, I understand the board is short on time tonight. I heard at the outset of the meeting that applications will be carried to next Monday. Then I just heard that you want to carry this until November 14th. Could you fill me in on that, please?
It'll be November 14th. My next meeting is by far packed with 4 or 5 plus applications, if not at least 4 applications that I'm aware of right now that I've noticed. That's why I had to make a special meeting for it, because we were I didn't feel I was going to have enough for your application, but we were able to get a quorum. So
well, I'm not sure our entire professional team is available that day, but we'll do our best to accommodate the board scheduling. We would prefer to go next Monday, which is a week later than had been scheduled for.
Yeah, I unfortunately have too many scheduling right now. If the November 14th doesn't work, we'll have to figure out when the next time could be with the board secretary.
Okay, in any event, the applicant, The Goods One, is here seeking preliminary and final site plan approval and conditional use approval to fit out and occupy as a cannabis dispensary a vacant store in an existing shopping center located at 355 Route 22 East, Springfield, New Jersey. The shopping center is fully developed and no exterior site improvements except for signage are proposed. Cannabis retail dispensaries are a conditional use in the HC Highway Commercial Zone. Notably, the Township Committee adopted a resolution dated March 8th, 2022, stating that the township zoning requirements allow for the operation of the applicant at the proposed site. Similarly, the township zoning official issued a letter dated March 11th, 2022, stating that the proposed site conforms to the township zoning requirements, which allow for the operation of a licensed cannabis retail facility at the proposed site. In addition, the applicant complies with the conditional use criteria for cannabis dispensaries. We intend to, as part of our presentation, whether it be tonight or another night, call a site engineer, an operations professional, an architect, an owner's design representative, and a traffic engineer.
Can we wait? Let me write that down again. So what are your proposed witnesses?
Site plan engineer, our site manager and operations representative.
Yep.
An architect, an owner's design and construction representative, and a traffic engineer.
Okay.
And forgive me, our engineer is also our planner.
Perfect. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, and I can't tell you how to do your application, but it would be best for us to hear what they're proposing from the owner, the person that's going to be running the site, and then hearing from your site plan and planner, and then we can kind of figure out the rest, where we're going to be based on time.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think we're happy to comply with the chair's suggestion, and at this point, I would like to promote Erin McFadden to the panel.
So our counsel will swear her in, but do you mind if we swear your other professional at the same time that you're going to do tonight? So that way we do them both at once?
Sure, that's not a problem at all. And we will also be swearing Matthew Seckler of Stonefield Engineering as a professional engineer and professional planner.
Perfect. Go ahead. Glenn?
Got them all on the screen?
Yep. Oh, I don't see, yeah, I see Erin now. Go ahead.
Joel, please raise your right hands. Joel, swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
Silence is not golden. Okay. For the record, please state your name and spell your last name.
Aaron, go first.
Erin McFadden, and my last name is spelled McFadin.
Aaron, what are you?
I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Tamalo Industries and the Operations Manager for the Goods LLC.
Jeff, why don't we just do one at a time? I think it'll be
One at a
easier.
time?
They got a whole
Okay,
battery
yeah.
of people. We'll just swear them in as we go. So I think it'll be
Okay.
faster. Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. Okay, go ahead. Finish, Aaron.
Counselor, she's all yours.
Thank
She's
you.
just a fact witness, so.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. McFadden. Good evening. Could
Good
you
evening.
could you describe your role at the Goods for the board?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you in advance for allowing me to testify tonight. My role is currently the Chief Executive Officer for Tamalo Industries, which is an Oregon cannabis company.
Aaron, hold on a second. Do we have video? Because you are a witness.
I see her. She's on video.
She's not on video on mine. I don't know about everybody else.
Mr. Keene, she's logged in twice, once with video but no audio, and once with audio, no video. So
As long as somebody's got her. That's all. That's fine. Okay. Go ahead, Aaron.
No problem. This is the downside of my Zoom. It puts me in meetings 2 times. So audio happens on one, video happens on another. To go back to answer your question, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Tamalo Industries. It's an Oregon vertical cannabis company. I'm also the Operations Manager for the Goods LLC, the retail dispensary we're seeking approval for in Springfield tonight.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden. Can you explain the affiliation between Tamalo and the Goods?
Yeah, absolutely. Tamalo is related to the Goods through the GrowCore investment. So we share investments in common. We were also retained early in the process with the application in order to provide consulting and management services and help start the dispensary in the state of New Jersey.
And Aaron, I'm sorry, Ms. McFadden, can you give a little background of what Tamalo Industries does and any things that it does with the state of New Jersey in the cannabis space?
Absolutely. So Tamalo Industries, as I indicated, is a fully vertical cannabis company in Oregon. I own and manage 11 licenses. We're a minority and women-run company. 5 of our licenses are dispensaries. The other 6 of our licenses are cultivation, manufacturing, and wholesale. Tamalo was started 2 years ago, where we acquired open businesses, including the first medical dispensary in the state of Oregon and the first medical dispensary in Central Oregon. And so we've been in the cannabis space for quite some time. We also provide consulting through our operations for the regulatory boards in the state. So the OLCC is the comparative agency to the New Jersey CRC. The OLCC uses our facilities as onboarding and training grounds for all new agents and inspectors. And the OLCC is partnering with the CRC on new guidelines for how to handle cannabis businesses, compliance, manufacturing, and retail. And so we've also toured some members of the CRC as well as the New Jersey Metric through our facilities and helping create the SOPs behind those regulatory regulations.
And Ms. McFadden, can you explain how you plan to get the Goods site in Springfield off the ground and running?
Absolutely. So my team is comprised of an exec from the local area.
Point, I'd like to share my screen and bring up the floor plan for the store.
Yeah, is it been submitted previously, so it's already on record, or is it something
Yes,
new?
that's correct. It's been previously submitted.
Okay. Counselor, if in your question, I'd love to hear how they pick this site, why this is this versus other sites on Route 22. If you can kind of add that in your question, that would be great.
Sure. We'll Ms. McFadden, do you possess knowledge relative to how the site was selected on Route 22?
Some high level knowledge that I'd be happy to provide. There's follow-up questions. It would be better to
Being as we're coming probably another witness with the site is our traffic engineer and good sight lines manage for the for people who are looking to visit a location to the Springfield Planning Board.
It is.
Okay. Can you explain how a customer will circulate from the parking lot into the store and through the floor plan?
Absolutely. And so if you look at the left side of the drawing, that's the north end of the building. And so you'll see the entrance doors to the parking lot. A customer would actually enter through those double doors into a vestibule where they would enter through a second set of doors. That leads a customer on their journey into the reception area where they would be greeted by both a team member and a member of a security team to have their IDs checked both visually and through an automated card reader to ensure two-factor compliance with age and identification requirements. Once that's been certified as an of-age legal customer in order to enter the dispensary, they would be buzzed through the second set of doors into the retail store floor space. So the retail store floor space, as you see, has a number of different display areas, both on the round tables and rectangular tables that would feature product, both from local members. We like to highlight products that are women owned, also BIPOC brands. And then all of the products that you'd see on the floor are locked and inaccessible, or they're dummy product. And so there's no live product available on the floor for consumers or any self-service that would be occurring. It's just a visual experience to allow them to shop the store. Once the consumers decided, on their purchases, they would queue up at the middle of the plans into a line where they would be meet and greeted at a register. We have 7 registers set up in the store. Once the customer comes to the register counter, they would interact with the bud tender, place their order. The bud tender would retrieve their order from a secure location. And then the bud tender actually transacts the sale before any product passes hands, at which time the product is placed into opaque and child-proof packaging and would allow the customer to leave the building. Now that is a traditional retail experience. If someone's coming in the dispensary, and looking to make a decision and then determine their products and leave. We also have set up an option for customers to come in and pick up curbside to-go orders. They would follow the same entry security protocol, at which time when they enter the facility, instead of traversing the retail floor space to the back of the building and the cash registers, they would make a turn to the left and end up at a quick service retail center. And so those registers as well would transact the sale and package the product in the same manner in opaque childproof packaging and hand it off to the customer. We really think that we've seen success with the two-factor ID compliance and then really maintaining control of the sales floor from a safety and security standpoint. The other portion that's on here is the product is not stored on the sales floor itself. And so that really is an additional set of security. We've double doored that. So any customer, before they would gain access to any product, would have to move through 2 locked and secured doors. And then that really helps too with how the retail bud tender is packaging the order and collecting the order for the customer. I think to note, one of the things we were taking into consideration when we were looking at this floor plan and how we would set up the operations was really the amount of cash handling and transactions that would occur. Right now in our Oregon dispensaries, we're about 50% cash handling and 50% cashless ATM debit transactions. And so those would be transacted at the back of the store. The cash would end up moving into the secure safe room and vault room and then be picked up by armored transport. All of the locations and doors that you see are access control doors. And so they're radionics controlled. That allows us to enable individual employees and disable employees as necessary for time and space control. So those that don't need to get into different areas, that radionics card really helps us manage that secure flow. Is there other things you'd like me to cover on the floor plan or some of the ways that customers journey through our building?
No, I probably, council would, and we can have the board ask you questions, and then your council can, anything that is missed, make sure that he asks you for the record. But, talk about queuing, how are you going to handle some of the queuing where people come up to the store, if there's lines to wait in, how it's not going to affect other tenants and so forth. Is that something you can testify towards, or is that another witness?
I can testify towards that. So we looked at the transaction counts that we anticipate based on the report that came from the city engineer, and that reception vestibule area allows us to make sure that shopping folks that enter our shopping experience are of age and qualified to do so. But the sales floor itself is quite large that allows, a number of folks to browse at their leisure. The queuing at the back of the building will handle the line as it moves through, but it really doesn't force us to have people queue up outside and impact other tenants. It allows us to bring them through the building and really hold that on the sales floor. We also have 7 registers. And so the average transaction time noted in the city engineer's report was just about 10 minutes in and out of the dispensary. And so with that, we think that the 7 registers at the back, in addition to the 2 registers at Curbside, will ensure that the turn is compliant and we don't have lines outside.
Cool. Okay. Counselor, are you okay if I open up to the board, or you have any other questions you want to ask this witness? Obviously, you reserve the right. When the board finishes, you can always have supplemental questions.
Yes, forgive us. We only got a fraction of the way through Ms. McFadden's direct.
Oh, well, then continue. I'd rather you get through her testimony, given that I know I have some boards that some board members that have to leave. That's why we have to end a little earlier.
Thank you. Ms. McFadden, I believe you touched upon the packaging that will be used in your facility.
Yeah, correct. We use opaque, child-proof, non-branded packaging. And so all of the products, while coming into the facility compliant with manufactured packaging, we insert them in an exterior package as well to leave the facility.
And I believe you will have noticed in the board engineer's review a question of clarification regarding the availability for curbside pickup. There will be no curbside pickup. Is that correct?
Correct. There would be no product exchanging hands or cash exchanging hands outside of the retail store. So while we do anticipate there being orders placed ahead of time, they would be transacted inside the space once the once the customer clears our security and identification.
Thank you. Can you explain the store's security features?
Yeah,
those that you haven't touched upon in your prior testimony.
Absolutely. So the store has extensive security features that include cameras, door access, door control, panic buttons, and also dual doors. So the camera angles cover every bit of ingress and egress. That is something we're familiar with. We'll cover anybody in the parking lot within 20 feet of the entrance through their entire journey at the store. We'll also cover any exterior areas where employees would traverse. So the back cameras would also take into consideration the joint waste facilities and dumpster area, and then all of the visible parking lot. Then I touched on the access control doors. We also have panic buttons, if you're familiar with those. They're placed at every register and in key locations. Also, we have all of our shift leads and managers wear them. It provides it on their person. Those panic alarms would have direct access to both the police and the fire department, and they also trigger an internal text message group through our management team to alert that a panic button has been pushed. I think one of the really great security features that we will be able to have at this location is we have an external receiving door. And so when product is received, it's actually, we're able to meet the delivery and then use the roll-up door to keep secure access and bring the delivery inside the building. And so we won't be taking deliveries or having any product really outside of vehicles on the backside of the building. And then our leads wear two-way radios so that they can work with an intercom system. And then the outside doors have an intercom on them as well to handle, any deliveries or communications without having to open the premise.
Ms. McFadden, do you have a designated security seat on the floor plan?
We do, right in the reception area next to our main computer is designated for a security officer. That officer would be maintaining video feed as well as being a visual deterrent.
And you'll also have a designated security liaison, is that correct?
Absolutely. So we would designate a member of the management team as the security liaison, so they'd be available to the police chief or other members of compliance and regulatory boards as needed. It also helps us to make sure that we have a general point of contact within our own team to be able to handle any updates, training, or changes in requirements.
And can you explain any security measures in the parking lot?
Again, the parking lot has visible coverage with video cameras. We will be monitoring for consumption and addressing so that there is no consumption on site. We also contract with a third-party security company at all of our locations where they are a patrol service. What they do is make sure as our employees exit the building at the end of the night, then periodically overnight tour the parking lot and are available for escort when our employees enter the building as well. It's a very helpful feature. It also ensures that, any sort of crime or things in off hours is being monitored as well.
Okay, could you give us the anticipated hours of operation of the store?
Yeah, the permitted hours according to the ordinance are 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So that would be our anticipated hours of retail sales. But with those being our hours of retail sales, we would anticipate that the store would be open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. in order to handle employee entrance, setup, tear down, and close up. And so essentially that's an hour on either side where we would have employees in the store, but the store would not be able be open to transact sales.
And can you inform the board of the anticipated maximum number of employees per shift?
Absolutely. So the number of maximum employees that we'd have at any time in the building would be 13. We would anticipate opening and closing the store with 5 employees and then working through a staggered shift system in order to cover the retail surge. What that really looks like is 5 people would open the store at 7 a.m. and then we would rotate in 2 people at 8 a.m., 2 people at 9 a.m., 2 people at 10 a.m. And so that they would also stagger out. When we look at the retail business, the hours really fluctuate based on the demographic and the customer habits. And so we would want to be able to be reactionary to that. But at no point in time would we exceed the 13 per shift.
Can we pull off the map so we can see you, Aaron, now, since we're not using it? And I know that we're coming up on time, so we may have to, I want to try to get you in as full as we can. And
You're
I'm sorry.
good. I'll talk fast. It's okay.
Okay.
That means I have to ask the questions fast.
Faster.
Okay.
I can't help that.
Can you explain how cannabis is delivered and how frequently those deliveries occur?
Yeah, cannabis is delivered directly from the vendor. Those deliveries occur on weekdays, Monday through Friday. With the number of vendors available in the state of New Jersey, we would be taking weekly deliveries, but it would average about 1 per day.
And can you explain where on the site or the floor plan that those deliveries would occur, and sort of the workflow from where those deliveries occur and how the cannabis winds up into the facility?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the southwest corner of the site plan that I shared, there's actually both a man door and a roll-up door. When vendors show up at the site to deliver product, they would actually enter through the front of the store into the vestibule, check in with security, and then get radioed back. And so then they would go back and deliver their product through that roll-up door that I discussed. That roll-up door is a direct line through our receiving area and then right into our vault. And so the product never leaves more than 2 doors behind the retail floor from the entire time it's delivered to the time we're ready to sell it.
And given that there's a roll-up garage door on the south of that building, the company has the option of having a delivery van drive into that door into the facility, or doing the unloading and loading outside of the facility. Is that correct?
It is correct. And we do anticipate having the majority of our deliveries inside the receiving dock. It's a much more secure location, and that would allow us to check it in and intake it.
Okay, is there, can you explain how cannabis waste is stored or removed from the store?
Yeah, the state of New Jersey is following the same regulatory guidelines that the West Coast follows when it comes to cannabis waste, either usable or unusable cannabis waste. So unusable cannabis waste is typically ground up with a further substance. Most often that's cat litter, and then rendered further unusable. It would then be disposed of in the solid waste containers provided on site. Usable cannabis, though, has a different regulatory waste guideline. So the regulations are evolving, but right now it would be handled in a manner where we would identify it as usable waste, contact the CRC for further notification. Once you receive approval, you actually contract to get it removed offsite and taken to a DEP incinerator and handled like that. It's not something we would dispose of or would leave our chain of custody into our waste facilities.
And non-cannabis, just ordinary solid waste, how is that handled?
The ordinary solid waste handled, there's a shared dumpster locations for both waste and recycling in the business park that we'd be in.
Does the company intend to install any additional mechanical equipment or generators at the site?
We do not intend to install any additional mechanical devices or generators on the site. We would have battery backups within the site to help run our security systems or our point of sales. But those are basic battery backups internally and nothing external when it comes to a generator or mechanical device.
Okay. Now, Ms. McFadden, you're aware that there is a laser tag commercial business in the shopping center, as well as a PM Pediatrics doctor's office at the facility, at the site. Are you aware? And does the company have any steps to mitigate potential interactions between children and your customers?
Absolutely. So the reception area, we feel very confident will handle not allowing underage shoppers onto our sales floor. But when we looked at the surrounding businesses, we wanted to also make sure that, you know, there was no opportunity outside in our parking lots, and then really reduce what that footprint looked like. And so, you know, I mentioned a number of times about opaque child proof packaging. Also, we don't intend for our signage to show any trade dress or cannabis paraphernalia. We will heavily monitor no consumption on site. And then we're very aware of the hours of operation of both of those businesses. The other thing is that when we're looking at both of those businesses, they are both escorted businesses. And so we don't anticipate, with them being escorted businesses, minors would be accompanied by their guardian or adult to really control that flow as a second set. But the measures we can take when it comes to making sure we're not advertising to minors or encouraging any sort of minors to be around the cannabis facility is steps we're well prepared to take.
Counselor, so because we only have 5 more minutes, I know that a few board members will drop off, and I don't want to then create who's heard, who's not heard at situation. So that's where I'd like to end, but I'd like when we come back, focus a little bit on that. I think personally, was very impressed with her presentation and a lot of the security and so forth, but I'd like to spend a lot of time to get myself and other board members comfortable with the fact that PM Pediatrics is one side and, you know, laser tag, they're the close proximity to kids. So that's where I want to kind of end. Given the time, I'm not going to open up to the board. We'll carry this application till November 14th at 6:30 on Zoom. You will have no further notice that you will have to do because I'm making the announcement right now for any members of the public. And, you know, if you could, when you reach out to our board secretary, give me an idea of how long you think each witness is so I can work with the calendar to make sure that we give adequate time to this application on the 14th.
Will do. We appreciate you carrying us without further notice, and we appreciate the board members to the extent they have conflicts for fitting us into your schedules tonight.
Yeah, I think Aaron did a good job. I think I'd like to see the signage pictures when we come back, hear a little bit more about, some of her testimony alleviated some concerns with queuing outside, which is good. You have basically a holding pattern in order to get in, which is good. But I think I want to, from my standpoint, and we don't have time to open up to the board, getting comfort of the two, the uses to the right and left is important for me and I'm sure for the rest of the board. Something I just want to point out, because I was on site, my daughter was at PM Pediatrics this weekend. I saw that there were cars parked from the car dealership next there. I don't know if that's allowed or not allowed. That would really sway the calculations of the how many cars are on site versus not. So I'd like, when you come back, to have that worked out with knowing that, make sure that there is no agreement from the landlord that JMK can park cars and so forth. And then
let me address that, Mr. Chairman. So we've notified, the owner has notified JMK that they cannot park vehicles on the site, and we understand that JMK has reached out to your zoning official and informed them that to the extent they have been parking on the site, they'll no longer do so. We think that issue is behind us.
Yeah, I'll ask Mr. Disco, and as he likes to troll the township of Springfield all the time, to just check on that over the next month to make sure. I know I was there on Wednesday last week and Wednesday evening, and there were cars parked there. So I want to make sure that that's not an issue. And then you have a copy of, Mr. Disco and Mr. Keynes wrote some letters. If you can work that through your testimony for the next meeting, that would be helpful. So at this point, I'm going to carry this application to Monday, November 14th at 6:30 on Zoom. No further notice. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to open up to the public to speak on any all business before the planning board at this time. Apu, anyone on this meeting?
I see members of the public, but nobody with their hand up.
Okay, and going once, going twice. Okay, well then at this point, I'm going to close the public portion and I'm going to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, we will see everyone on our next meeting for the rest of the public is next Monday on Zoom at 6:30. Feel free to join. There'll be other applications, but this one that we just heard will be Monday, November 14th at 6:30. Thank you guys very much.
All in favor of adjourning?
Yes, too. Aye.
Aye.
Karen
I unilaterally made that decision, so
Karen made the motion, I seconded it.